We're often getting questions about what can someone do outside of the therapy room or outside of a visit with us to help themselves. And we wanted to talk to you today about some of the things that we typically recommend, which are books. I'm Dr. Nichelle Haynes.
I'm Dr. Kristen Lester,
And we're Medical Mamas. This is your place for evidence-based information about your reproductive mental health.
meaning mental health in relation to reproductive hormone changes like around pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, premenstrual disorders, and infertility.
I love books. I am a book person, and I love a physical copy too. I mean, I have a lot of these actually on digital as well, but
You know, I am like terrible at sitting down and reading books unless they're
fairy
smoky romance novels. But I feel like also the audiobooks for a lot of these are really helpful.
Yes. I actually have a couple we could add in about that I've listened to on audiobook that I don't have physical copies for.
Yeah.
We'll add a few extra in the show notes. No? In the description? I don't know what you call it. Okay, so I want to start with this one. It's called Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. So basically, this book is about why we need to have vulnerability in our lives, what it does for our relationships, and some practical tips about improving your relationships through vulnerability. And I think after reading this one, I really did see a change in how deep my relationships were. Right? If I can go to someone and be vulnerable and tell them a certain thing like, hey, that really hurt my feelings, or hey, I've been feeling this way or that way, there creates a lot of connection and understanding there. And so I think that this one is really great for improving relationships.
One of my favorite books is Real Self-Care by Dr. Pooja Lakshman. So she is also a women's mental health psychiatrist, and she's amazing, and she wrote this book about basically all the ways in which women are not setting good boundaries and self-care, but real self-care, not just talking about, bubble baths or getting massages, being really intentional with the way that we take care of ourselves. And I feel like this is a great book for my patients who feel like they need to be doing everything and are struggling and feeling like they aren't doing it good enough, or, they see someone else doing it better and they're comparing themselves, and really looking at that's not really the right way to be doing things. You're not taking care of yourself. And by not taking care of yourself, you're not setting good examples for your kids. You're not improving your longevity. Like there's all these things, right? So she does a great job of helping understand the ways that we get into doing this just in our society in general as women, and then also going through how to have real self-care for yourself.
Love that book. So good. And Dr. Lakshman Pooja is a friend of ours and just a wonderful human as well.
She is.
Okay, speaking of boundaries, I think this is a great one to talk about next. This one is Set Boundaries, Find Peace, A Guide to Reclaiming Yourself by Nedra Glover Tawwab. She's also great on Instagram. Follow her there.
On her Instagram.
Yeah, it's really good. So this book is great for teaching you where to set boundaries and why, and also great for practical tips on how to do it. I think the hardest thing is understanding where you need boundaries, and that's really a big portion of this book. I have gone through the whole thing. I have different areas that are really helpful for me personally, and I read this more than once, and I definitely recommend it to a lot of patients. I think everyone can benefit from this. So. Anyway, okay, this one is the Bible of everything. So that is brilliant. It is so good. This is Self-Compassion, The Proven Power of Being Kind to Yourself by Kristen Neff. This book has so much great information in it about why we need to be self-compassionate, which I think is like a huge component for me of understanding how to do it. And then also some personal anecdotes that she has in here, and then activities. And I also think there's a workbook that can go along with this one. But there are definitely activities that you can do that are exercises or different things that I think that speaking kindly to yourself can be extremely transformative in your mental health journey, in your life, in how you feel, in the ways that you show up in the world, in your relationships with your kids if you have them.
I think that's probably a huge one, is that the way that we talk to ourselves, our kids notice it, the way that we treat ourselves. And so you're modeling for them how to be kind to yourself, and they're going to grow up with that same internal monologue.
Right. So definitely points out the difference between self-esteem and self-compassion. And like, I cannot recommend this one enough. If you fully get to how to get real self-care. But yeah, this one is like the best.
So this one, Come As You Are, it is by Emily Nagoski, and it really is focusing on women's sexual health, which is so important in just kind of your relationship with yourself, but also in your romantic relationships. And basically, it's an evidence-based book. So looking at the research on women's sexual health. So what is our anatomy? What makes up our desire? How can we improve those things? And it's also going through real examples of things that you can do to improve your desire, improve your pleasure, understanding your own sexuality better. It's a great book for just your sex life.
I think, yes, I have actually recommended this to patients who have partners who don't understand their difficulty with libido post-baby or whatever. This talks a lot about, desire has two different aspects to it, and we can have responsive or spontaneous desire. And so there's just a lot of different nuances to that book and the information that's in it. I think it's really wonderful. And it's always recommended on all the physician forums. Like, hey, what do you recommend for this? It's like, yeah, that's what we pretty much all go to.
Yeah. And, for it having decreased libido or not really being interested in sex after having a baby, but also like later on, just with having little kids, is a very common thing. And I think a lot of women blame themselves for that or think something's wrong with them. And so this is a great book for understanding the complexity of desire. And then it's not just maybe all on you.
Totally. Exactly. Okay. This one is called Your Brain's Not Broken. I will be honest, I've read about 2/3 of it, but everything that I've read in here has been really great. It's for people who have ADHD or partners of people who have ADHD, and it's really affirming and talks a lot about how ADHD brains just work different, and they're not broken, they're just different.
They just function different.
They just function a little bit differently, and so it points out a lot of the differences between a neurodivergent brain with ADHD and a neurotypical brain. And I think it's just really validating to see some of the things in there and be like, oh, I do that. Not because I'm lazy, but because my brain works different or something like that. So I think that it is actually really helpful for people who have ADHD. So we have other books too. We'll include them in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you soon.
Bye.